تحية مجددة لكم مشاهدينا الكرام في هذا الاستديو الخاص بمؤتمر سمو الشيخة فاطمة بنت مبارك للتدريب والتعليم. مشاهدينا الكرام يسعدني أن أرحب بالأستاذ بات بكلي. Pat, it's nice to have you on Abu Dhabi Sport Channel. Like we'll be having like a few minutes before the conference started. Like would like to tell me more about 10 o'clock sharp, exactly. Tell me more, Pat, about the session you'll be speaking in it and what the main points you're going to talk in this session.
Well, my session comes on at the second session this afternoon, second session after lunch. Basically, it's about sort of the best approach to get media coverage and how to become, well, what is most popular in racing, how to get people interested in racing, which is my sort of forte. Is there are not enough people interested in racing, and the main reason for that is because they don't really understand it. They don't get the chance to broaden their intellect on what actually goes on. People will say horse racing on television. Oh, horse racing. What is that? I don't know about it, you know. And that's, well, let's come and have a nice
okay,
you know,
you people are going to talk about it today, going to find for solutions. Now tell us, how can we work on it more so people knows about horse racing? Like for example soccer, like for the people who are not getting the horse racing, what we need to do?
Make it more public, if you like. I mean, look, how many people go to a football match in comparison to some of our small race meetings? I mean, there's a vast difference, you know, and mainly because there is the, what's the word, the personal contact, if you like. People know the footballers, they know they go to support their hero. Whereas in, you have I mean, it tends to be, you mustn't touch race horses, you can't, and you do not get close enough to them to be part of them. Okay, the jockeys now are getting, I mean, we have a lot of very pleasant and nice jockeys who are very happy with the public to be associated with them. I mean, some of the, like H.H, our local boy here, he's got his own supporters club in Abu Dhabi. You probably hear them whistling and shouting when he comes in, you know.
Exactly.
And he runs, the first thing he does after he runs and, well, if every jockey had similar, think how bigger
it will be bigger and bigger. Exactly.
Yes, yes.
And now we are getting Ahmed, also As-Subusi is coming in this field, and we wish him best of luck also.
But it's a slow process getting local jockeys, because even any country in the world, to have a jockey, it's easy, go and serve your apprenticeship, oh, big money, but maybe 1 in 1,000 become successful. You know?
Exactly. You mean like this is one of the reasons, as much as jockeys you have more, it will be like getting more people. Like for example, every jockey gets his own people, it will be bigger and bigger.
Absolutely, yes. And thanks to His Highness Sheikh Mansour and Watba Stud, and of course under the glorious directions of Lara, this, what we call the Watba Stud Farm Cup, which is for private owners only. Now this gets the, I won't say the man in the street, but basically the person or man or lady for that matter. We haven't had a Sheikha owner yet, so I don't know quite why this is, but it'll come, I'm presume.
You are like being in Abu Dhabi Equestrian Club. We are all together every Sunday there, and we see the races there. How important is this private owner cup for the private owner peoples? How important for them to challenge?
It's become so important that, I mean, we can, the maximum number of runners is 16 in Abu Dhabi for safety. This is for a safety reason, you know. And I'm getting maybe 50, 60 entries, and then we have the declaration, which is 4 days before. And if, most occasions, I'm getting double the number, I get 16 can only run, and I'm getting maybe 30, 32 people who want to run their horses.
So they need more races.
More races, which now hopefully the opening of Alain.
Yeah, exactly. It started last season. Yeah.
Satisfy this. It'll give more opening to more people.
Yeah,
and in consequence, if more people are getting a chance, more people will come in because they can see, oh look, I have a chance here.
Exactly. Al-Ain race course, they are doing very good job. It was like number of races last year. It was like 5 races. Now this year they said it will be 10 races. 10 so races, that's a good for them to like blow their experience there.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And of course, like in any sport, I personally, anyway, I like to be involved in it. Now, horse racing is a little bit like in the big race meetings in UK and at Royal Ascot. Well, the horses are some far away from you. You don't actually get to be part of it. You don't feel the atmosphere, for one thing, you know. I think that's what we need to promote here, is get more interest, more personal contact, if you like. More people. They've opened now in UK what they call open days, where public and members of racing clubs can actually go and meet the trainer and be shown all the horses. And then, in consequence of this, I would say maybe 80% of those visitors see a horse that they like and they'll follow its career.
Exactly.
And that can only go on because their friends will want to. But, you know, it's
So there are solutions. We have to find it and work hard on it to make it more and
there
more
are
people,
solutions, and thank God, probably here in the United Arab Emirates, thanks to the Highnesses, the Sheikhs Mansour, and of course Her Highness Sheikha Fatima Bint Mubarak. I mean, racing has an enormous support, and it makes everybody enthusiastic because they know that they're getting somewhere along the line, you know. Whereas you get other countries that have problems with the governing bodies and this, and they have, well, a lot of problems which we needn't go into here. But here we have the great background and backing of their Highnesses, right from the origin of the late President Sheikh Zayed,
Yeah,
of course,
exactly.
who
That
I
vision,
met
yeah.
25 years ago, and he said, I want an industry here. And that's the way we're still going. But Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid from Dubai says, there is no finishing line in this business. It's always another step, and we can improve on what we've done, what we've done. There's another step.
That's what we were talking, no finishing line. Like, and the great example is His Highness Sheikh Mansour bin Zayed Al Nahyan Festival, how it started, and we are in the 6th season, how big it is, and still Lara is promising a lot of surprises.
Yes, she's always giving me surprises.
Exactly.
But Lara is a great worker, tireless work, and of course, the great thing is, Lara, she's such a good person with people. She can, I mean, she asks you to go and walk down the road backwards, you would do it.
Exactly, exactly.
Because you know she would appreciate that. You know?
Exactly.
And everything she's done has been forward going. Okay, we have made small mistakes and mistakes that other people probably haven't noticed, but they've been rectified very quickly.
This is human nature, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And if you don't learn by mistakes, you don't learn.
You learn, exactly. صراحة طبعا تحدث بات بكلي عن أهمية الإعلام ودور الإعلام. يتحدث أن يعني نحاول أن نجذب أكبر شريحة من متابعي هذه نوع من الرياضات، طبعا بالنسبة لسباقات الخيول، للتواجد. يعني طبعا تواجد الجمهور دائما ما يعطي للموضوع الزخم أكبر. دور الإعلام، طبعا الإعلام في زمننا هذا طبعا ليس فقط الإعلامي والميديا، طبعا الانستغرام والتويتر والفيسبوك.
صحيح، هو احنا نقدر نعتبر الإعلام يمكن الشريك الرئيسي وشريك رقم واحد لنجاح أي سباق موجود حاليا عندنا، سباقات الخيول. نلاحظ احنا يمكن على حتى الإعلام اللي متمثل في التواصل الاجتماعي، نلاحظ تغطية كبيرة جدا لجميع سباقات القدرة الموجودة عندنا في دولة الإمارات، فهاي تعطي فرصة لزيادة عدد المتابعين للرياضة هاي واهتمامهم بها من خلال التواجد أو خلال المتابعة عبر الوسائل الإعلامية المختلفة. فيمكن الاهتمام الإعلامي الكبير هذا يعطي فرصة حتى زيادة يمكن الجهات اللي تنظم السباقات، هاي الجهات اللي تنظم السباقات انها تهتم اكثر للتغطيه الاعلاميه موجوده. حتى يمكن لاحظنا يمكن اقبال كبير من الشركات الراعيه لاكثر من سباق حاليا. الاعلام يمكن يعطي نقاط قوه كبيره جدا في سباقات الخيول، منها من خلال الاعلام نقدر احنا نكتسب حتى الرعايات المختلفه، حتى تواجد الجماهير الموجودين، المتابعين، امور كثيره تعتمد على الاعلام اللي نحن نحطه يمكن شريك رقم واحد لجميع سباقات الخيل.
نعم. But like he was talking about that how important is the media, and not also the media, also like the other supporters of the media like Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. It's also important how to spread and to gather as much as people as we can.
Most important, as you say, the media themselves are, well, they can make or break something really. If they submit a few bad reports and people say, oh, to hell, I don't want to be involved in this. But consequently, our media here in the UAE in particular are extremely good, and they attend all the race meetings, which is important.
Exactly.
Because then they become aware of the situation. They know people and they can see characteristics of jockeys and horses and trainers and even owners, you know. You can watch an owner in the parade ring before the race and you can see if he's on edge, if he's excited. He's going to have a winner, or he thinks he is, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
If he's uninterested, no, he's not. You know?
Exactly. Yeah, we were talking about a very important session will be held tomorrow. Tom was talking about it. The session talks about that being in shape for the jockeys, that like he could have the Liverpool University doing a great job. Like you can have 5 meals but stay in shape. How important is that? And you are a great jockey. You know how important being in shape during your...
It's hard to think. I used to weigh about 56 kg about 30 years ago, you know, and now I weigh, well, not quite 100, but... Yes, it is a great innovation, this Liverpool University what you like to call it, weight control, if you
Weight
like.
control,
I don't think
yeah.
we call it diet. It's not a diet as such, is it? It's controlling the weight by the foods that you eat. And I think they're doing a very, very good job, because in the olden days, jockeys wasting, even like myself, to get weight off, you starved yourself to death, and you went into a Turkish bath for hours on end, sweating, dehydrating yourself.
Dehydrating, yeah.
And in consequence, when you come out, you wouldn't be feeling the best to ride in a very hard race, you know. But under the new, well, hopefully, the new dietary control that Liverpool University are introducing, jockeys should, well, in theory anyway, be as strong as if they were eating normal, you know. And I think that it's going to go a long way.
Also, as a sportman, Pat, you know, like being a sportman, you don't have to depend on these stuff of diet. You have to take care of yourself also.
Very
Because
much
if you
so.
would like to give more in this kind of
Yeah.
sports, you have to take care of yourself.
Absolutely, and I mean, even most in my day, I had a very, very strict boss master, you know, and the night before racing, you didn't go out at night. You didn't. You were kept under lock and key, basically.
Exactly.
You know, to prevent any sort of prohibited substances passing your lips, and you had to be fit, because otherwise, in my day, really, you didn't perform properly. You got the sack, and that was it. You know.
But in your room, you don't have anything, because if it's locked, if you have something left
Oh,
or right, you don't eat it.
Everything's censored. Man.
Yeah, everything is, you can have water, that's it. صلاح طبعا تحدث عن أهمية طبعا الحمية الغذائية. طبعا يتحدث يعني بات أن صحيح أنه هو توجد هناك أنظمة كثيرة، يعني في زمنه هو طبعا قبل 30 سنة طبعا كان جوكي محترف في سباقات القفز، يعني ما شاء الله قفز أكثر من 600 مباراة. فات يتحدث أن قبل في زمننا يعني نعم توجد الأنظمة، ولكن أيضا على الفارس أن يكون شرطي نفسه، يجب هو أن يحافظ على نفسه، يعني هو يدير باله على نفسه، لأن المسابقات تكون أمامه.
صحيح صحيح، يعني هو الحمية تبدأ من الجوكي نفسه، الفارس نفسه، المحافظة على الوزن، وتأتي من خلال انتظامه في الوجبات الغذائية بعدد معين. وإحنا عارفين يمكن 5 وجبات غذائية مع مصاحبة تمارين رياضية تؤدي يمكن المحافظة على الوزن، يمكن نزول الوزن في نفس يعني هو ما شاء الله من الفرسان اللي كان لهم خبرة كبيرة، ويعطينا خلاصة خبرته.
نعم.
ما كان قبل 20 سنة، ومن خلال حاليا يمكن اساليب تغيرت، يمكن تطورت
صحيح.
في عملية المحافظة او الحمية الغذائية
صحيح.
الموجودة حاليا.
صحيح. Pat, thank you very much, and you'll be
My
having
pleasure.
a lot of experience to share the people today. He was saying that you have a lot of experience in your jumping and in your horse world, so you'll share the people for a lot of experience, and I wish they make use of it. Thank you very much, Pat.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
صلاح
much.
المرزوقي ممثل مجلس ابو ظبي الرياضي، اشكرك جزيل الشكر على تواجدك معنا هنا. طبعا مشاهدينا الكرام، ننتقل الان الى ديريك تومسون والجلسه الاولى لمؤتمر سمو الشيخه فاطمه بنت مبارك للتدريب والتعليم. والجلسه الاولى مشاهدينا الكرام بعنوان تدريب الفرسان عالميا وتفادي الاصابات. To you, Derek.
Thank you, Masood. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Eastern Mangrove Hotel. This is Tomo, Derek Thompson. We're live in Abu Dhabi, and we're about to start the first session of the Sheikh Mansour Racing Conference. Ladies and gentlemen, for those watching around the world, can we give everybody a big round of applause? It's good to be here. Now, we've got some great sessions coming up today, 3 sessions that are going to take between an hour and a quarter, hour and a half each. We have delegates from 46 different countries. There's over 800 of them, and they're still coming in. They've been flying on Emirates, and our thanks to the stewards, the hostesses from Emirates who brought us here, and of course the pilots. And we've come literally from all over the world. And just to say, in this first session, let me just read you where they've come from. They've come from places like America. They've come from Great Britain. They've come from Germany. They've come from Turkey. They've come from Australia. They've come from Korea. And they've also come from the United Arab Emirates. So it's a very, very special international feel that we have today. And I'm pleased to say that the VIPs have just arrived, because we'd like to get off to an official start. I'll be introducing Liz Price, who'll be moderating the first session very soon, and Lara Sawaya here as well. Lara, just come and say a few words. We've just gone live on Abu Dhabi TV. Come and say welcome, because we're live here today. She has literally just arrived, brought all the VIPs as well, after a truly superb night last night at Sheikh Mansour's Equestrian Festival. This is what it's all about. Good morning, Lara.
Good morning, and thank you all for coming to the capital of the world, Abu Dhabi, for Arabian horse racing. As I can see, there are lots of you who still are sleeping because of the most beautiful night yesterday in the Emirates International Endurance Village. Of course, we opened yesterday the best tent in the world, talking about the history of the Arabian horse. It's the tent of of Zayed and the Arabian horse, which you saw in a very big traditional and the most important event in the UAE, which will take place on November the 20th, which is Zayed Festival for Heritage, the Zayed Heritage Festival. This is so important to all of us today, that you, all the jockeys of the world, and of course, all the people concerned in Arabian racing. You're coming from 56 countries, and we're very proud to say, this is your home, Abu Dhabi, to welcome you all in one place, the capital of the world. Thank you.
That is lovely. Thank you very much indeed. By the way, just at the back. Yep, I thought you might. Just to say, it's very interesting here. As Lara said, we have people from all over the world here today. So obviously, some people speak English, some people speak German, some people speak Arabic, some people speak Australian. Sorry, I had to put that. Don't mention the cricket. So what we have interpreters. We've got 4, you probably can't see them on TV, we have 4 very highly paid interpreters, and they are behind the screen. So everything that we are saying is being transformed into their particular language. So everybody here will be able to understand exactly what is happening. And the beauty of this, it's incredible. When Lara said, Tomo, we've got 800 delegates coming from 46 different countries, I said, yeah, okay. And now you're here. It is absolutely amazing. And the beauty of this is, like yesterday we had the camel racing, and we had a lovely do last night at the Sheikh Mansour Arabian Equestrian Village, the endurance village. And it was so nice because you saw people mixing, discussing. You saw the young jockeys together with their arms around each other. They'll be going against each other on Sunday. But at this moment in time, they were talking, discussing, swapping stories, having a joke with each other. And that's what it's about. And they'll take those stories and those jokes back home with them. And also what was interesting yesterday was the fact that everybody had their iPhones, their telephones, their cameras. And what they were doing, they were recording absolutely everything. And that is the beauty of it. And they will send those around the world. So while we were sleeping here last night in Abu Dhabi, people around the world, waking up, whatever, will be saying, hey, look at that. They've been camel racing, they've been doing this in Abu Dhabi. And that's the beauty of this. And I hope when you go home on Monday, whenever you are going around the world, you'll take many happy memories. So let's get straight into it straight away. And let's please welcome live on stage His Excellency Arif Alawani, Secretary General of the Abu Dhabi Sports Council. Sir, would you please come up and welcome everybody here? Sir, good morning. Thank you for coming.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. We are just, I will make it short for everybody because I don't want anybody to wait too long to hear for the speakers here, which we are all waiting for. We congratulate everybody for attending this big event today in Abu Dhabi, the capital. It's not only Abu Dhabi, the capital of United Arab Emirates, it's Abu Dhabi, the capital of the world, because of the big effort have been done during the last 6 years. And today we are starting our 7th festival, I think, in all over the world. So it's only one part of the world, but for sure we are in Abu Dhabi happy to be the capital of the whole effort of everybody who is related to the Arabian horse. I just congratulate you all for the big event because you are more close to the Arabian horses than we are. We are just looking after the sport, but you are the ones who are feeling the interest of His Highness Sheikh Mansour to take care of all the races which have been done in 56, I think, 56 or 65. And as I know that starting from next year, there will be 99 races, so for sure we welcome everybody. We hope you have the best event ever during these days, starting from, I think, before yesterday and inshallah today and the next days until the race. And we hope that next year we will have more of these races and more benefit related to the Arabian horses. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Aref. Did you say 99 races next year? Somebody's in for a busy old time. She's smiling at the moment. More about that, I would think, later on. Now, please welcome, live on stage, Mubarak Al-Nuam, who is the overseas promoter. Sir, would you come and join us? And give him a big round of applause.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, I'm really proud to be here today with you. Wow, it's more than from 56 countries. That's great. On behalf of Abu Dhabi Tourism Authority, I'm really glad to be here with you today. And I would say you are welcome in Abu Dhabi. And we are all proud of you because you kept Abu Dhabi on the map and to show everybody Abu Dhabi is one of the best destinations in the world. Thank you very much.
Lovely. I love these speeches. Is Sammy here? Where is Sammy? Sammy, where is Sammy? I love this. If you don't know what we're talking about, Sammy Al-Buainin is the chairman of the International Federation of Arabian Horse Racing. Jenny Haynes here. Where's Jenny? Jenny, come and join us, because we were delayed yesterday because Sammy's flight was delayed, and we were all saying, where's Sammy? And that is the reason. He's working very hard. There's a lot happening in Qatar. Ginny is the boss, Ginny Hayes, who is married to our senior starter in the United Kingdom. Would you like to welcome, perhaps as a foreign dignitary here, you're boss of the British Arab Racing Association. Ginny, what are your thoughts about being here?
Amazing. We use that word so many times. Everything is incredible. I'm also vice chairman of IFAR, so on an international side, to see all these countries here, again, all brought together. Lara mentioned it yesterday. It's the younger generation. This is the future. And to bring all these countries with all these jockeys and all the information we're going to glean over the next couple of days will be fantastic.
Great to have you. Thank you very much indeed. Relax and enjoy. So now, we're going to just take this away because I think now we're ready to start with the first session. We've got some great-looking people here who have come from all over the world. And these are some of the leaders in their worlds. And I'm pleased to say that Liz Price, who is a great journalist, great friend, works for Akida in France, top racing lady, is here to moderate the first session. Liz, good morning.
Good morning, Derek. Good morning, everyone. As Derek said, my name is Liz Price, and I have the great honor of guiding you through this first panel this morning. I'm very excited because I have a very distinguished panel of speakers with me. And we are going to talk about jockey training worldwide. We're also going to broach the subject of recruitment. And I'm going to start straight away. I will ask each of my panelists to introduce themselves to you and to maybe just give us a little idea of what program their country has in place to train jockeys. So I'm going to start with the lady on my left, who's Dawn Goodfellow from the Northern Racing College, the chief executive in England. Dawn, if you could just introduce yourself and please tell us what kind of program does England have in place for jockeys? How long do they go to that school? Tell us a tiny bit about the courses.
Right. I'm chief exec, as Liz has said, of the Northern Racing College, which is one of 2 racing schools in England. The bulk of our activity is around the training of stable staff. So we have a 12-week residential course that young people, most of whom will be 16 to 18 years old, come into. They'll do their 12-week residential course and then they're placed with horse racing trainers around the country, and they'll proceed to undertake a level 2 qualification actually in the workplace. In terms of the jockey courses, they would then be sent back by their trainers on a jockey licensing course. That license course is 1 week long, and we would be assessing during that time whether we think they're going to be safe and competent to ride in public. From there, they would then do more mandatory training, so they'll go to the British Racing School to undertake continuation and advanced training, but we're also supporting the British Racing School in running a jockey coaching programme. So the BHA has sponsored, that's the British Horse Racing Authority, has sponsored the training of a group of coaches, all of whom are ex-professional jockeys, and they'll be providing support and tuition to those young people in the workplace on race courses in their training yards.
So it's a pretty substantial program from the sounds of it.
It's growing, yes.
Obviously, England being one of the sort of first countries to have horse racing. Now, let's move on to Germany. And I would like to introduce Kai Schiermann, who's the director of the German Jockey School. Kai, if you could introduce yourself and please tell us a little bit what Germany, what the program is in Germany for jockeys.
The German Jockey School, it's the only one in Germany, it's in Cologne. We have 3 years, the students, for the apprentice time. They start direct on the trainer and come to the school 2 or 3 times. We teach them the rules, we teach them how to ride in the race, and they get the license in our school for the race. And the course, it's by the trainer and in the school.
And how old are they when they start? How old are they?
They start after the high school, so this means they're between 17 and 21 years old.
So later than in the UK.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kai. I would like to move on to Remy Belloc, who comes here from America, and who is the executive director, I think, of the Bluegrass Community and Technical College in Kentucky. Remy, if you could introduce yourself and tell us about your program in America.
Well, first of all, my name is Remy Belloc, and I'm the executive director of the North American Racing Academy. First, I'd like to thank Lara and Suzanne and everybody for having us, bringing us all the way here from America. You do a wonderful job every year. We really much appreciate it. We are based, we're the youngest school up here because, like our country, we have a very young racing school. We've only started since 2006. And my good friend Chris McCarron, who you'll meet later on, we talked about doing a racing school. Our school is based at a community college in Lexington, Kentucky. So we're part of the vocational training program. The studies are based on a 2-year associate's degree. So it's about 65 college credits. And the students will have a degree, an associate's degree in equine studies. And then within that, they'll have the 2 pathways, one for riders, whether they're going to be a morning work rider, exercise rider, as we call them, or jockeys. And then the other pathway is more towards the horsemanship side. But what makes US unique is that trainers will hire grooms, assistant trainers, and then exercise riders, not one person who does both. So we're really a workforce training program for the industry, for both the racing and breeding industry. They can get a 65 credit, approximately, associate's degree, or a 1-year 30 credit certificate. And they can get their associate's degree, like I said, in just general horsemanship, to become a trainer, or they can get an associate's degree geared towards riding. They'll start right after high school, so generally it'll be about 18 to 21 years old. And like I said, it's a 2-year program.
Thank you, Remy. Very interesting. If I could now introduce Chris Watson, who is the director of the Turkish Jockey School, a jockey school I've had the pleasure of visiting, and there were a lot of much younger kids than what I'm hearing here. So tell us about your program.
Yeah, our students start at the age of 15. Our school is based at the Istanbul racetrack, and we have a stable within that racetrack of about 40 horses. And because our racing is 45% Arabian racing, we have Arab horses in the stable as well. Our program is 2 years. and the students, we have about 45 students over that 2-year program. It's a program which encourages the students and where they develop their horse skills early. It's almost a foundation course at the beginning of the course, and the students graduate after the 2 years, and within 2 months they receive a license from the government of Turkey. But the school is run by the Turkish Jockey Club, and the Turkish Jockey Club are quite generous to our students. Everything's supplied to them, from socks and underwear through to their riding gear, through to their tuition, accommodation, everything's supplied by the school.
Thank you very much. And I would now like to give the word to Melissa Weatherly, sorry Melissa, who comes here from Australia, and who is you're in the Athlete Development and Industry Career Advisor Department of Racing Victoria. So Melissa, if you could tell us a little bit about your program in Australia.
I work for Racing Victoria, and we're the governing body of the racing industry in Victoria. So we're split up in Australia into different states, so each state operates independently and separately. Our training program has about 45 apprentices from years 1 to about year 5. They come in for training from year 1 to year 4. We have about between 30 and 40 athletes that apply to join our program each year, and we take between 8 and 14 depending on the quality of the candidates. Ours is a lot about workforce management, so we don't have 30 jockeys retiring at the other end, so it's really important for us to make sure all of our jockeys are gainfully employed and have opportunities to earn a living and make a career out of riding. So it's important for us to manage the numbers coming in, and we also want to have really good quality athletes coming into the program. They range in age in a year group from 15 to early 20s, so some of our apprentices are still at school and we support them while they're doing their schooling in conjunction with their training. We do a certificate in jockey apprenticeship, which they do in their first couple of years with us, and they also do a Cert 3 and 4 in fitness, and then we run another number of other programs to support them. So after their 4th year, they come in once a month for training, and otherwise they're supported out in the field by our apprentice jockey coaches, who you'll hear from Matt in the next session about what they do specifically. And then after year 4, they're still an apprentice until they outride their claim or their apprenticeship is finished. And we still support them, but they don't need to come in for training anymore.
Right, thank you very much. And last but not least, I would like to welcome Mr. Ki-sun Kim, who's the General Manager of the Korean Jockeys Association. Welcome. Could you please tell us about your program?
Anyway, thank you so much to organize this kind of a big event to all over the world. The Arab Emirates Racing Organization did a really great role to make history under the name of the one world, 6 continents. It was really fantastic. And actually, I'm from Korea, and I was working for the Korea Racing Association for over 25 years. And regarding the Korea Racing jockey schools, as usual, we do have a 2-year course in Korea, and we have a long history to train the jockeys almost for 40 years more, and we do recruit 20 the applicants from the young the high school boy or some people under the age of 24, and we do support everything like the accommodation and the tuition and all the equipment. So Korea racing are very affordable. Can we support everything from the the turnover. Turnover is not so small. It is big in Korea. So we do have some.
I think you're getting a different mic because we can't really hear.
Now working? Oh,
yeah. Yes.
So the facility and the people are very eager to learn how to ride a horse in Korea, and the The horses for the jockeys, we have 79. It means around 80 horses are supported to the jockeys who are trained in the school. And we do not only do training the jockeys, but also we do train the grooms in the school. And the specs to be applied for the school is age by 16 to 2 years old. And body spec have to be 49 kilograms below, and the height should be 168 centimeters under. The daily schedules, they are starting the schools from 5:30 and finish until 22 hours. It means all day long have to be dedicated to the trained in the horse racing, not just only the riding skill, but also all the subject like the ethics and management skill and something like that. That is the system in Korea.
Thank you very much. Very interesting. I think we've been presented with quite a variety of different schools, different programs. One of the things I have picked up on here is that there's quite a big age difference in the different schools. And if you think back of the history in racing, we used to have jockeys that were 17 or 18 when they would win the derby. But quite a few of you have said that many of the jockeys only enter the school when they are 16 or older. So this trend, is this a trend that jockeys are going to get older? Because obviously their career is also then capped at a certain time. You know, we see them that they ride until they are 40, 45, some very lucky ones until they're 50. So by starting later, what does it actually mean? I think the youngest is probably in England. So when do they start?
They'd start their formal jockey training after they're 16 years of age. But we also have pony racing in England. So one of our methods of recruitment, for example, would be through pony racing. There's a well-established pony racing authority, and the Pony Club also offers pony racing. And those young people would come into either of the schools to do camps, to do tuition, but they still can't even undertake an amateur license course until they're 16 years of age.
That's interesting because pony racing, obviously, as you said, we have that in England. Do we have pony racing in Germany?
Yes, we have pony racing in Germany too.
And do you recruit from the pony racing?
No, not from the school, but the pony racing are organizations from the racetrack. So they are 12 or 12, 13 years old when they start. But we have amateur races for the young riders, and they start by 15. So this is the place we will find the young jockeys.
Because that is obviously one of the big subjects which is going to interest us all. We need to recruit new members to the jockey schools. We want more jockeys, but at the same time, as Melissa then said, it's very difficult because there are only that many positions available. So what do you do in Australia? I mean, how do you recruit them? Where do you stop? How many do you take?
I think I'm a part of the workforce development team, so the other part of my role is actually promoting careers in racing to the general public, and I think a lot of people think of racing and they think of jockeys and trainers and don't realise there's an enormous breadth of roles. In Victoria, we have racing every day of the year other than Christmas Day and Good Friday. So we were just talking this morning saying how we're really lucky because we have an industry where sometimes people think it's too much racing, but it enables all of those people to earn a living and make a career out of what they're doing. I was talking to an apprentice yesterday in a country that coming into winter only maybe races once a week, and you can't sustain a living and a career that way. So we're lucky, so we're always looking at recruiting new people. With apprentice jockeys, we don't have pony racing. Our coaches are out in the field all the time, so sometimes they identify talent when they're out at track riding and jump outs and things like that. So we ID talent that way. Also, sometimes people coming through pony clubs, and the other programs we run track rider programs as well. So we have a specific course that's run that's a Certificate 3 in track rider. So, and sometimes we don't even know them before we've gone into a school and done a careers in racing session, and there's someone that in the country that has a horse and rides horses that suddenly develops an interest and hasn't thought about the industry prior to hearing about it. So we have quite a variety of methods that we use.
But this is it. How do they hear about it? I was quite shocked the other day. I was talking to a lad in France who, at the age of 21, decided that he wanted to become a lad. He wouldn't have made the weight for a jockey. And I asked him why he waited until the age of 21, and he said to me, because I didn't know that these jobs existed. Now, we're talking about a country that has 250 race courses, that has 4 schools, and yet there are still those that go through the net, that don't know about it. So what do you do to promote the fact that there are careers in racing? If I may maybe go through Remy, you would like to say something?
It's a very important question because, as I mentioned before, we have
I think we need to adjust that mic.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
I think it's a very important question. Like I mentioned before, we have a very young school, and I often say we have the best kept secret in U.S. racing because advertising, things like that are very hard to do. The advantage we have is that we're in Lexington, Kentucky. So,
but you say advertising is very hard to do.
Well, it's hard to do because you can do it within racing circles and let word know, or some of the things that we do through word of mouth when we're mentioned on national television or things like that. But I also think that it's a problem all the countries have. One thing I think is important for us, though, is through the high school system. We're working with the local high school level, Fayette County, for example, in Lexington, Kentucky. We'll have workshops, we'll have days where they'll bring in families to talk about careers. And so we get involved in that way, and I think that's an important thing. In the U.S., for example, licensing, you can be licensed as a jockey at 16. We have our students come to us a little bit later than that, but by involving high school students in classes, dual credit, for example, and things like that, you introduce them early on that we're available, that we have a program that's there. And that kind of pays dividends down the road for where you might have a student say they're too young to start, but they're aware of our program. And so a few years later, they enroll and they become a student. But the question of recruiting and of getting the word out is a constant challenge for us.
So would you use like a big event, let's say the Kentucky Derby or something? Could you not use that, like, or in England, the Epsom Derby? We see ads for the race on TV, but we don't see ads on on TV about, how to become a jockey or how to participate in that race. And really, that is in the end what we want. We want new people. We're worried about not getting enough attendance to the race course, but at the same time, if we don't have the talent, it goes hand in hand. So would that be a point that could be raised, that we say we don't just do the ad for the race, we actually do the ad to recruit more people?
I think that, yes, there's a lot of different avenues. I worked in marketing in a previous life and all that. I think there's a lot of avenues, but I think social media, I think students today find out about us in a lot of ways I never even contemplated. They'll look up racing school or how to become a jockey, and our name will come up. So I think that, for us, that's going to be an important avenue, is the idea of when somebody watches the Kentucky Derby and a young man or woman wants to become a jockey, another Chris McCarron, for example, and they go on to, the first thing they'll do is they're going to go on to Facebook or Twitter or on the internet and type in, how do I become a jockey? If we can then become that answer, the first thing that pops up when you do a search, and maybe it'll be North American Racing Academy, maybe one day it can be International Federation of Racing Schools that comes up and then talks about all the schools in the different countries. To me, that's going to be a key answer for all of us.
That's very interesting. Obviously, social media very, very important in our lifestyle today. But in that case, I'm going to put a question to Chris, because Chris, you're head of a racing school in a country. Turkey is very big. I don't know how many inhabitants are in Turkey. I know there are also very remote areas in Turkey where maybe social media is not as developed as it is in countries like America or something. I think you mentioned you have how many apprentices at the...
45.
45. Now, for a country that is that big, do you limit the number of apprentices, or do you have a huge, do you have more demand, or how does it work in Turkey? How can they apply? Where do they come from?
Yeah, well, they come from all over the country. The Turkish Jockey Club has a very good relationship with the media, and picking up on your point before about our premier events are usually in the summertime, and the media picks up on a lot of that. So there seems to be a lot of interest in our school during that time. So we will have articles in Sunday magazines, on the television. The Jockey Club has its own TV station, as well as a website which is constantly live 24/7. So there's a lot of information goes out about our school right across Turkey. So we seem to pick up, there's quite a bit of interest around recruitment time in the programs that we're delivering. And we don't seem to have any problems getting interest.
So it's limited to 45, but
it's limited. Our intake is between 25 and 30 each year. There's about 600 jockeys in Turkey, so there's plenty of jockeys at the moment. So we don't need to recruit any more than that. And our 25 to 30 is usually by second year about 20. For various reasons, some will drop out at the foundation stage. Others will not sort of be competent enough with their riding to go through. So there's usually about a third of the recruitment don't make it through.
Right. And Ki-sun, how is it in Korea? Where do your jockeys come from? How do you recruit them? Do you want to give them the mic? Maybe I think we need to pass that. Thank you very much.
The supply, the jockeys to the Korea racing circuit is very hard. You know, the younger generation getting bigger, and also they have lots of variety to take their careers. But recently, the Korea racings are booming, so you know, jockeys' incomes are getting bigger and bigger. So the youngster generation wish to be jockeys. So recently, it can be a very no problem to recruit the jockeys, but we do have 3 racetracks in Korea. So one is in Seoul, and the other one is Busan, and the Jeju race course run the pony races. So we do want to get around 5 to 10 jockeys from the school, and we do recruit around 20 to 30 jockeys, jockey schools application we got, and finally they do, decrease the number of the students because of their, weight control, and also the walks in stable is not easy. Like the youngster doesn't like to walk early in the morning with the horses, so they are disappearing from the school. So finally we get some graduate, like 5 to 10 graduate from the school. So recently we don't have the problem, but years ago, years ago, we do have some problem recruiting some younger generation to be a student at the school.
Yeah. Right. And very interestingly, Melissa, you said something earlier on that you thought, obviously, we want to educate jockeys, but at the same time, we also want to provide them with a job at the end. We can't just churn out jockeys and then there are no jobs. Now, I want to put a question to Kai in Germany, because the German racing, as we all know, has sort of reduced in terms of races and horses. And what do you do in Germany? How many apprentices do you have? Do they have jobs that they can go to?
We have at the moment 22 students in the school. To find new students, it's very hard because the German people are very high. They get more taller. So I think this is the problem for everybody, in every country. But okay, we have Facebook. Many people see the pictures on Facebook and they send me message. Then we start, 1 year ago, we start a course, we make a course for people that have nothing to do with races. They come from the riding school or from any place. It's a 3 days course. They will come on the racetrack. If he can ride the horses in the morning, trotting. If they are good, they can go for canter. And he will see how to use how we do it on the electric horse. We have 2 electric horses and the simulator. We show them how to ride there, and in the end, maybe we will have 1 or 2 students more.
But how do you promote it? Because at the same time, you want to offer those kids opportunities. How can you? What do you say to them? Do you say to them, if you come to our school, you get a job? You're sure of a job, or?
Yes, of course. If they come to my school, they will get a job because he will find a job. The trainer will help them if they are not too big. Then we have, how you can say this, 3-4 Mal im Jahr kommt das Fernsehen zu uns und macht einen Bericht über die Schule.
So 3 or 4 times a year that German TV comes to the school and does a report and shows it on TV.
And from this, so I get many emails. The people want to be jockey. They see how it works and they like it. This is the only thing what we can do.
How is it for you done in England? Do you have a selection process? Do you actually have to limit the number, or how does it work?
We're recruiting originally, the bulk of them will come as stable staff, because to come on a licensing course for a professional jockey, they have to be sent by a trainer. So a trainer is identifying them as somebody who has sufficient talent to be riding on the race course. In terms of our broader recruitment, we have a whole program working with schools, so we'll attend careers evenings, we'll put on activities for schools, for children from as young as primary school, so under 11 years of age, just to try and build an awareness of what we offer. Social media, as everybody has said, is becoming a very, very big part of our recruitment, and I would say the bulk of the people who find us either through Facebook or via the internet through our website. One of the biggest boosts to our recruitment in recent times, we had Channel 4, who are the terrestrial broadcaster, who broadcast racing in the UK, made a documentary about the school in April this year, which they showed on the evening before the Grand National. And it had nearly as many viewers as viewed the Grand National in Britain. That crashed our website that night, it crashed the British Racing School's website, and we sent more application packs out in the following 2 weeks than we'd send out in a year. So in terms of recruitment, that was probably the biggest thing that we could be doing, is getting on mainstream television. It's just a challenge to get on mainstream television, of course.
Yes, I think we have another panel later on where we might just discuss that, the importance of the media in this whole aspect. But Remy, yes, please.
I think an important aspect too is one thing I try to bring into our program. When I went to school, I started wanting to be a jockey. I got too big, I rode as an amateur rider, and then I went to University of Arizona Racetrack Management School. And there I got a whole new perspective of the industry, where at first I wanted to ride, and then when I realized I couldn't, I got involved in track management. And one door closed, another one opened up. And I think it's very important for our students that, first of all, we're educators. And secondly, it's a big industry. So our students, while we have them for 2 years, we teach them about the entire industry so that they understand, for example, what happens in the racing office, the development of a racing card, how all the departments work at the racetrack, the economics of the sport. We offer them an opportunity to become a racing official training. We have the Racing Officials Accreditation Program, so that they can take the opportunity of be pre-certified as a paddock judge, as a patrol judge, so that they're prepared in case their first choice doesn't work out, if they get injured as a rider. So they don't have to go back to school and retrain because they want to stay in racing. We try to make sure they understand the entire sport, because we're cultivating a next generation of not just jockeys or trainers, but perhaps a racing official, a steward, a track management person. And I think that's critical. So that they understand they may not be the best jockey, but they'll be the most educated and well-prepared jockey for a career in racing or breeding.
So basically what you're saying is that we shouldn't just stop at trying to get the next jockey on board, but we should try and get the whole industry to work on the basis of having a proper education, because obviously one of the main criticisms of, for instance, stewards is often that that a steward might not come from a racing background, or, and then the jockeys complain and say, how can he tell me, that I got in the way of someone, he's never ridden a horse or something. So you're saying it's very important to have a basic education.
I think it's critical because we find in America now, we place students, for example, with Todd Pletcher, a top trainer. He's got a 4-year bachelor's degree. Ken McPeak, another top trainer, 4-year degree from the university. These trainers, these employers, are educated people, and they appreciate the fact that a student has gone to school and gotten a certificate or a degree. And I think it's important for our industry to create somebody who is going to be a positive, have a positive influence on the industry as a whole, not just in one aspect of it.
I totally appreciate it, and I think it's great, but I have to ask you one question. You're talking about, that we have to have the education, that we have to go, have people better education. Then how come that none of your jockeys is learning another language?
Our jockeys are. Our jockeys are learning English.
They do?
Yes.
One head up for Turkey.
Yes.
But it's really true. I find this, as a journalist, I find this all the time. Young jockeys who go out in the world and they don't speak the language.
A weakness of our system, and it is a major weakness of our system, is that we don't have them for long enough. We don't have them for long enough to achieve the levels of education that Remy is talking about. And so the time that we do have with them, if you look at our programs at the schools, they're about teaching them to ride, teaching them to look after horses. They have to do maths and English, and they do life skills, so preparing them for the wildlife. But if we had them for longer, I completely agree with you. One of the things we should be addressing is the language barrier.
So you actually think so the course is not long enough, maybe?
Not nearly long enough.
But could that be changed, or?
In England at the moment, the restriction on that is that 66% of our funding comes from government for these courses and is very fixed. We don't determine what that funding's going to be. And so, yes, it's a financial restriction on what we can do, basically.
Well, that's interesting. Kai, how is it in Germany?
In Germany, the same. I have them in the school for a week. In the week, you cannot teach them another language. A week, yeah.
A week.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could have gone to that school. 1 week. Yes, that is very short. And then they go directly to the trainer?
They go back to the trainer.
And then it's up to the trainer to teach the skills?
The schools, yeah. The regular things, the stable things, they learn everything on the trainer. In my school, only we teach them how it works in the race.
So you only teach them sort of safety regulations in the race, and how, or what exactly are the modules in your course?
In my course, I start in the morning watching the training. After the training, we go back into school, and then we talk about what he do wrong. So is the sit is okay, how he can hold a horse, or how to ride a horse. Then we go on the electric horse, and we show them how to use the whip, how to push the horse, and we teach them the race rules. This is everything what we do in the school, and the rest he learned in the stable by the trainer. They have also a regular school. In the regular school, they learn everything about the horses, give the horse food and everything.
That's very interesting, and the different aspects, the different approaches in each country. Remy, I read about you that when you suggested to create a school, you wanted to base the American model on the European model. What was it in the European model that you liked?
Well, I had started off riding in France, My father sent me there to ride somewhat as an apprentice, learn the traditions. And that was kind of the foundation because we didn't have a formal racing school in the U.S. And I really love how it's done, you know, in England and France and Germany. You know, we have a lot of catching up to do. So we wanted to use that as a foundation, but still apply teaching techniques that are unique to American racing. And there are certain things that even European-based riders will come to us to learn a lot of the things that they're unique to American race riding. And that leads me to the idea of doing a lot of exchanges, you know, sending some of our students overseas and then having students from overseas coming to the U.S. That's a great way of learning. You know, racing is global. And when you can learn to ride a horse in two different styles, you're that much better. This is why we bring our riders here, so that they learn that technique. So that was the initial idea, is that we teach them how we do things in the U.S., but we also teach them how to ride a horse in a European way, because it's a completely different approach.
Yes, because obviously now racing has become a very global sport, and actually quite interesting and relating to our race here this weekend on Sunday. I was in the car from the airport back with the Japanese apprentice who's going to ride, and who has obviously never ridden a purebred Arabian horse. And he was quite surprised when I mentioned that maybe he had to adapt his riding style a little bit to the Arabian horse. Now, Chris, you've got in your school, you say your jockeys learn to ride, you know, the two kinds of horses. And, you know, have you found that is very, very beneficial for the Turkish jockeys to know both, how to ride both horses? Is it important to broaden our minds? Do we have to open up? Do we have to learn? Do our jockeys have to learn more languages? Do they need media training? Do they need to know how to ride all these different horses? I presume, you know, in America we've got also quarter horse racing, don't we, where they, you know, have to ride at a different speed. Chris, tell us about that aspect.
As an Australian coming into Turkey and having not much experience with Arabian horses, I think the Arabian racing, the combination of Arabian and then thoroughbred racing, it adds a new dimension, a new excitement to our industry. And our horses, the horses are ex-race horses in our school stable. So the students, and the Arabs are a little bit different in temperament. The riding style for the Arabs in the races, there's a slight difference. Which I won't say what it is now, because we feel we have an advantage in Sunday's race if I don't tell the secrets behind that. But it certainly helps with their riding skills, and I believe they become more skillful jockeys. And in the school, where there's probably 3 key points that we're trying to stress all the time, and that's point of balance on the horse, technique and control. And we find that the point of balance is crucial in not just their riding skills, but also in the safety of the sport. Turkish riders, there's a great history of behind the Turkish riding, as everyone would appreciate, through the Romans and the Ottomans, and Turkish riding style has been traditionally quite high in the saddle, and that's being adjusted over the years, and we're now requiring our boys to ride quite low and actually lower their irons a little bit, so their point of balance is better, and keeping their elbows tucked in and having good control over the horse is crucial. And I think over the next few years the Turkish riders on the international stage will be quite prominent, and it's festivals like this that allow us to come here and just really test whether our riders are good enough on the international scene.
Well, it's interesting that through the globalization of this sport, we can now see jockeys that come from all over the world be successful. You know, I've just come back from Australia, from the Melbourne Cup, and there was a young Brazilian jockey who is making headlines in Hong Kong and in Singapore, and as the Australian, I think it's his name, the Australians pronounce him Joe Moreira, but I think it's Jose Moreira, I'm not quite sure. But anyway, and he was compared on the day to Ryan Moore, who comes from England, you know, who has the classic sort of comes from the classic racing family and everything. Melissa, you're in Australia. You also have a lot of women riding. We will get to that subject in a minute. But how do you get many Australians? Do you get different nationalities in your school, or?
With our apprentice training program, you have to be a resident to apply and to be an apprentice jockey, but we do have a girl who'd come out from England who'd been riding in England who'd applied to join our program. We do
we know why she preferred to apply to your program and not to the English?
She'd moved to Australia anyway for opportunities because she was struggling to get opportunities, because I know there's a lot of riders in the UK, so she'd moved to Australia, probably the sunshine and weather as well. So she was working and riding track work for a trainer and still was really keen to do her apprenticeship. So she applied for the program, but then it was subject to her obtaining her residency. But we do have apprentice jockeys that come on loan to Australia from overseas. So. And I think for us, anyone that's been to Australia understands we're a really, really long way from anywhere else, and we're not very good at speaking other languages. But I think for us, these opportunities the last 18 months to participate in these programs have been really fantastic for our apprentices, because we are so isolated from other countries, and it really gives our riders a great opportunity for us to network and develop their own personal skills and make friendships. I think they'll last a lifetime. I was talking to a couple of the riders who I met in Sacramento at the first race, and saying that Josh, our rider there, wasn't able to come over, and they said, oh yeah, I know, I was talking to him on Facebook yesterday. So for me, that personal development is really fantastic, and you can't put a price on that. So I think maybe they're not speaking other languages, but I think they're developing connections around the world. And I think that's one thing that we really sell, that racing is a global sport, and you see evidence of that every day. And we had a German horse win the Melbourne Cup, and we've had international riders come in and take out our Group 1 events throughout the Spring Carnival. But I think that keeps our riders keen as well. And Regan coming here gives him a chance to network and see what great potential there is to ride around the world and meet people from around the world. So I think that's the next. We're always looking at making ourselves better and what else we can do, and that takes us to that next level as well, I think.
Well, I think one of the subjects that needs to be developed, if today is not the right time, but obviously in the future, is the standardization of a certain standardization of education, so that these jockeys who will travel the world, thanks very much to Lara, that they can learn how to ride in all of the different countries, get to know the rules, so that there becomes a different, that they can be competitive in the countries, because there's no doubt that you can no longer limit, or you should not limit your career to just one country. Just because you went to school in Australia doesn't mean that you have to ride in Australia. Just because you started in Germany doesn't mean you have to stay there. You know, there are lots of opportunities all over the world. And you mentioned, Melissa, which is obviously one subject also dear to our heart, is that the presence of ladies in racing. And I'm actually going to ask Kim-sun, you in Korea, I think you have a lady who's quite successful. So can you tell us maybe how many women apprentices you have, and how many male apprentices?
You know, in Korea there is no limitation, like sexual limitation. How many is boys? How many is girls? But recently the ladies are much more applied than before. So maybe kind of 30% of the total, trainees are the ladies jockeys. So ladies are very, they have a good, mind to take care of the horse, and they are very, very sophisticated. That's why they do very strong point to care of the horses. That's why the instructor, like the ladies training, is much more than the boys. Yes.
Right. Can we maybe ask just one by one? Dawn, how many girls apply for apprentices?
If you look at the stable staff, we'd now have probably 70% girls to 30% boys applying to become members of stable staff. To become jockeys, that probably reverses. So we have many fewer girls applying to become jockeys and very many fewer who actually make it successfully. One of the most successful graduates from the Northern Racing College is Hayley Turner, who's the most successful woman in Britain. But I think it's tough for them, and it's certainly tough for them to get opportunities with trainers. There's still a real bias towards boys. So the number of full professional women jockeys in Britain is absolutely minuscule in relation to men.
But do you, as a college, do you approach the trainers and do you try to maybe tell them that, or to educate them, or to convince them that to take girls? I mean,
very much so, and we try to provide more support for the girls, more appropriate support for the girls. But for example, the jockey coaching program we have at the moment doesn't have a single female coach on it. That's something that we're looking to address because that's obviously a weakness. But yeah, we try to promote it, certainly.
Kai, what's it like in Germany? How many girls?
How many girls? It's 90%.
90%?
90% of the German apprentice jockeys are girls.
So the message maybe to all the boys who want to apply in Germany. Good place to be. But you have girls riding in races maybe more than in England.
In the race, the old people, they are men, of course, yeah. But all the new apprentices and the new jockeys are girls. So we will have, in the future, we will have more girls in the race than boys.
And how do are the trainers okay with it, or do you need to push the trainers to take girls? Do they say we rather have boys? No, German trainers like girls.
If you will not find, you can do nothing. If you will not find it, you can do nothing. So the most of them are girls.
Right.
And if they ask me, when I get the message on Facebook, or they send me mails, or they call me in the school, it's only girls.
That's a good position to be in, Kai. Right, Remy, what's it like in America?
We're about 80 to 90% women riders. It's unique in the U.S. because we have different regions. So we've had a lot of success, for example, with our graduates, women riders in the Mid-Atlantic area.
Can you put it up a bit? Yeah, just
Okay, sorry. 80 to 90% are women, and we have a lot of success placing them, getting their career started in the Mid-Atlantic area. So Maryland, New Jersey, Delaware, areas like that. The trainers are much more open to giving a female rider a chance because they've seen it with Rosie Napravnik that, we have some of the best, women riders, Julie Crone, Rosie Napravnik, those kind of riders who have started in that region, in that area. So they're much more open to giving a women rider a chance.
So basically, if you're a girl, don't go to Hollywood. Go the other
Even if you're a boy, don't go to Hollywood because there's so limited opportunities there. But you can go there once you've established your career. But to start off,
because I was going to say, I think Julie Crone, she finished in...
Yeah, but as an apprentice in general, out west is very difficult because there's so much fewer racing opportunities than on the East Coast, where there's a lot more tracks and a lot more racing opportunities. But I do see a trend, especially with our school, where it'll be more women riders and horsewomen. And it may also be a kind of a cultural thing for a boy in high school age in America. Riding horses isn't the first thing they think of. It's playing football or playing basketball or things like that. So we may get them, but a few years later, when they realize they can make money as a jockey, but by then they've lost 3 or 4 years of their career.
But for instance, if you advertise, as we were talking about on social media and everything, would you have a poster of a boy or of a girl, or do you have both? What do you advertise with?
I advertise a jockey driving a Jaguar, and then they boys and girls will line up at that point. Money is the great evener. So
that's very interesting. Maybe we have to have another chat about that when I want to hear about the advertising. Chris, what's it like in Turkey?
In Turkey, I think my microphone's okay.
Is it working?
Yeah. In Turkey, in the school we have 0% girls.
Zero. Ooh.
It's
Ooh.
traditionally traditionally we haven't. Yes, I'll talk about her in a moment. Traditionally, we haven't had a lot of females working in our racing industry, particularly in the stables. But I sense a change in Turkey. Many of our senior managers within the jockey club are now female. We have a small number of girls working in racing stables, and Doigel Fatura is one of those, and she's been a great role model. And I can see us perhaps using our role models, even though small in number, in the future to promote careers in the racing industry for girls, because things will change in Turkey. They're already changing, and we sense that in the future there will be. It's not to say we haven't had female apprentices before. We have, but at the moment we don't have any.
But would you have female trainers?
We have female assistant trainers.
Because
Yeah.
obviously, you were talking, Remy, earlier about, that there's a whole industry surrounding, the jockey training and everything. And sometimes it's obviously easier if there's another woman who's a trainer. She might be more open to employing a female jockey because she herself is in that position.
Yes.
So I was just wondering, but so it's the whole industry, which is still very much male-dominated?
It is a male-dominated industry, but then many of
Any
our...
female journalists?
Pardon?
Any female journalists?
Any female journalists? Many female journalists.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I won't go to Turkey then.
Yeah.
Right. Melissa, what's it like in Australia? You said already you've got...
This year we had our highest female intake, so of the 10 apprentices, 7 of them were female. Across our apprenticeship program, it's generally about 50% female, and that translates then into about 30% of our senior riders are female. But around the country, there's a number of outstanding young female apprentices at the moment.
And obviously with a trainer like Gay Waterhouse or something, you don't need to sort of push the female...
No, we have a lot of female trainers as well, so we're lucky. And in mainstream media, I guess, we've got a great... Racing Victoria's got a great media and communications team, and we're in the Spring Carnival at the moment, and we're able to promote our male and female riders and industry people equally, I think. So tomorrow's Emirates Stakes Day, and we'll have an article on Channel 7, which is the free-to-air TV, and that'll be on the role of what Matt and Matt do out in the field as coaches. So it follows on from a program that was on Emirates Stakes Day last year on Channel 7, which was about what we do when they come into training. So I think we've very much had a cultural shift in that our riders are athletes. They're not just jockeys. We do sports medicine testing twice a year, and they have the same lung capacity or VO2 max as an Olympic rower. So we've worked really hard to change the perception that they have of themselves as athletes, and really we treat them probably maybe differently. We don't have a female coach, but we think that if you're a professional swimmer, you don't necessarily have a female swimming coach. You have a coach that's there that's to provide you with the best technical support that they can and make you the best rider that they can. So we've got 2 male jockey coaches. We definitely have females within the program to support females, and we've got a lot of riders out in the field which provide really good mentoring support for them as well.
One of the words, that word coach has come up quite often in this discussion here. And one of the things I always find so shocking is that we send out these young people to ride in these fabulous races. And I mean, the winner of the Melbourne Cup, he got £300,000, or I don't know, I only know it in pounds. That's a hell of a lot of money to earn. And lots of these kids are 18 or 19 when they win these big races. And yet, does any of your education program, do you give any sort of financial, is there financial training? I mean, what do they do? If I'm 18 and I get $1 million, fine, I'm off, Yes, Melissa.
At Racing Victoria, our apprentices, their winnings and earnings are held in trust, so they can't actually access that money because, yes, potentially they're earning in the spring when they're earning and race riding every day, they can be earning $4,000 or $5,000 a week which is a lot of money. So our apprentice program, they get their apprenticeship wage, which is maybe about $350 a week that comes from their employer, which is their trainer, and any race earnings goes into trust that we manage.
But for how long? Until what age?
For the term of their apprenticeship.
So
once they become a senior rider, they can then, or they transfer into state, their trust fund would transfer into state, but for the term of their apprenticeship. So once they become a senior rider, they get their trust money. In that time, they can apply to us if they want to buy a car or build a house or buy a property, and we really encourage them to invest their money. We have a business program where we have accountants come in and talk to them about investments and wealth enhancement and things like that. So I would say pretty much all of our apprentices are really responsible, and they don't often come to their trust. We don't pay bills for them. They can get a budget and they're expected to learn to manage their money with maybe a small extra budget if they do move into their own home. But we've seen it happen in the past, because to have a high disposable income like that is really irresponsible for us to do that. So we manage it for them, and then we support them through the things we do in program and encourage them to invest it, because I don't want to be handing over $200,000 to them at the end of their apprenticeship. So we make sure they've got themselves set up for life, because they may only ride for 3 or 4 or 5 years, but they have an opportunity as an apprentice to set themselves up for life in a way that none of us would ever have. So we talk about that with them from day one, and talk about their transition out of race riding, whenever that may be, and that they use this opportunity to really get a start on their life, in whether that's as a career as a jockey or transitioning into something else.
Yes, well, Ki-sun, I could see you nodding. I don't know much about Korean racing. I don't know about your prize money. Maybe you can tell us what it's like in Korea and how much a jockey would earn there.
The prize money is, in Korea is not cheap, but not very expensive. It means average prize money for the one race is $5,000 or something. So we do have 135 jockeys working for the racing in Korea, and average the Korean prize it's much bigger than the normal salaryman, like someone who graduate from the university and they start their earning, they do make a month $4,000 or $5,000, but comparatively it's higher than the normal salaryman to the jockeys. So we do make a big, important to the jockeys how to manage their financial issues, because the younger men they want to buy some Mercedes Benz or Porsche or something much expensive, the cars or some luxury ones, because they got the money. But the jockeys' earnings are very fluctuate. Sometimes they get big money, but sometimes they didn't get the money. So have to be prepared for the future. So we do make some kind of pension saving or some financial plan to be prepared for the future, or after the marriage they get some care of the families. So that's why we do make that kind of a basic foundation training, such as ethics and financial issues. So it's the Korean jockeys are very well managed in terms of the financial issues recently, I believe.
No,
yes.
That's very good. Now, I'm going to ask Remy, you were telling us that you lure your apprentices with a picture of a jaguar. So how do you tell them? Do you have something in place? Do they get the money? Or do you just say, no, that's just a picture of it and you'll get it later? Or, what do you do?
First of all, that term lure is something different. We actually, the advantage we have is because we're tied to a community college.
Put it closer, yeah.
One of the advantages of being tied to a community college is that we have our students take classes on campus. And part of the curricula that they have electives, and we encourage them to take courses in personal finance. We also bring in some folks that talk about wealth management and how to start a 401k and all these different things. Obviously, having somebody like Chris McCarran to give him some fatherly advice on how to, make their money work for you once you have it is really valuable. But that's one of the key advantages of being tied to a college, because they come to campus and there are all these other classes being offered there. We're just part of an overall college, so there's other departments. There's, finance, accounting, all these other opportunities they can take, and we encourage them to use those classes as electives. In some cases, they take advantage of that, and they do that. And now, as far as alluring students, I joke about that, but that, to me, that's an important part, because there's still a kind of, we compete a lot for others with other sports in the U.S. In countries like England, Ireland, France, racing is a very prominent sport, and jockeys are legendary. In America, we have the same thing, but it's competing with, LeBron James in basketball and football and all these different sports, like soccer in America. It's now starting to, grow, but we always lose our best athletes to other sports because they pay more money. So when you can, show a young man or woman that you can become quite wealthy, not just as a jockey, but as a trainer, if you work hard and apply yourself, we're starting to kind of, we show Rosie Napravnik winning the Kentucky Oaks. All of a sudden, she's won $1 million race. And 5 years before, she was a high school kid riding pony races at the hunt meets. So it's a visual you can show to a young woman that it's not just an esoteric idea. It actually can happen to anybody.
No, and I actually think you're absolutely right. I think today, the way the world is, we compete, as you said, with so many other jobs, so many other sports. We have to make it interesting. There's no doubt. And obviously the financial aspect, who's going to deny that? That's not a very, seductive method of getting into it. So I think, if it works great. You should continue, have your Jaguar on it. So, Dawn, what's it like in England? Do the jockeys get any kind of coaching? Do they get told how to deal with money, what to do with them? Is it kept like in Australia? Do they look after it? What's the situation in England?
Well, firstly, can I say that I'm immensely pleased that Remy's using a British-built car to lure his jockeys. But in England, no, there isn't any kind of trust fund for them, but they will get personal financial management advice at the foundation level. They'll also get some of that advice on the licensing courses. The jockey coaching program that we have, those jockey coaches are also encouraged to be mentors. So again, the fatherly advice that Remy's mentioning there from somebody who's been there will come in. The other thing that we have in Britain is something called the Jockeys Employment Training Scheme, which is largely funded through a deduction on riding fees, so they're paying for it throughout their riding career. That's about training them for careers both within and outside racing, but it's also about some of that personal planning. And so they get support from that, and that's accessible to them all the way through their riding career as well.
Yes, I think it's very important, and I think it's sort of because one of the things, the education with jockeys does not stop when they leave the school. I think that's one of the very important things that needs to be. We need to focus on that. Just because they've been somewhere a week or a year or two, it doesn't end there. Yes, Remy?
If I could add to that, last year we talked about creating a global website for all the racing schools to compare information and ideas, and we're getting closer to that. I think an important aspect of that, for example, in the U.S., Julien Leparoux, a very good jockey who started in France, smart guy, and he has a manager, a financial wealth management person who also handles basketball players. And so he has somebody, a professional, to help him manage his wealth. And to be able to take that concept and share it around the world at one location online where we can compare, notes, do continuing education, which is a very big thing now in the US. We were talking with Keith Rowe about doing CE classes. In America, pretty soon, a trainer, as a condition of licensing, will have to have completed at least 4 hours of continuing education every year. And I think that can be applied to riders, to any licensee, especially in our country. You want to become a massage therapist, you have to be licensed every year.
Sure.
And relicensed every year, and take continuing education. I think the same thing should apply to our profession, for people who are involved with the running of the race, the trainer, the jockey, and all that.
Right. I think we've touched on quite a lot of subjects here, and as usual, maybe there are some questions from the audience. Maybe there's something you would like to know, or you would like to ask, or maybe something you would like to add. There's someone there in the back. If you could take the mic there. If you could just give us your name and speak close into them.
Hi, my name's George Wilson. I'm from Liverpool John Moores University. I met one or two of the people on the panel. I just wanted to ask the various racing schools, the representatives. We heard a lot about the coaching and about all the programmes, financial. But what I was really interested to ask is there any provision, and there isn't that I know of in England, but is there any provision anywhere about actually teaching jockeys about nutrition and about how to cook, how to shop, and how to deal with the one thing that occupies their lives day in, day out, 24/7, which is how to make weight?
Right. Dawn, you were nodding. Do you want to answer that?
Yes, I mentioned earlier that during our foundation course, we provide a life skills training, and all the young people that go out of our school will have done a full program of cookery lessons, and that includes how to shop, to cook properly, and to manage your money and that sort of thing. There is also, in Britain, there's a team of nutritionists who do work with the PJA and will attend the race courses and that kind of thing.
Yes, and I think we need to mention that obviously one of the panels that are still to come, we will talk about that nutrition, very, very important in the life of a jockey, and maybe that will further answer your question. Would you like to add anything, Chris?
Yeah, we work fairly closely with a nutritionist from Istanbul University, and she brings in her master's students to work with our students on nutrition and planning for nutrition. We're fortunate because we run a residential program that our nutritionists can prepare, or not prepare, but plan all their meals. So all their meals are planned by the nutritionist. So they're quite fortunate, and they're quite well educated about nutrition when they graduate from the school.
Right.
At Racing Victoria, we have a nutritionist as well, and she also works with the Australian Ballet Company and the Victorian Gymnasts, because they actually have similar requirements in regards to weight management, so it lines up quite well with jockeys. And that's in program for 2 years, and then she touches base with the athletes twice a year after that to see how they're going. But also for us, it is at the recruitment phase as well. So when we shortlist our applicants who are looking at coming onto the program, we actually do sports medicine testing. So we do weight, height, skin folds. They have a medical assessment, psychological assessment, and they meet with a nutritionist and a physio assessment. So we've actually turned people away who were sons and daughters of jockeys, because, so for example, someone might come in and their weight is 57 kilos, but their skin folds are 30%, which means they have no room to move. So we actually go on the advice of the sports medicine experts, or someone might come in at 57 kilos and have 50% body fat. So they've actually got potential room to move. So we go on the advice of our medical experts as well. So we have turned people away who potentially would be great athletes, but because we don't want to put them in that position in the first place. So for us, it's about, and I'm sure for everyone, it's about good health and well-being and fitness.
I have to say, I do really appreciate the continuous use of the word athlete. because one of the things I find always very shocking in France is that jockeys don't have the status of an athlete. And the general population very often still thinks that jockeys just sit on a horse and the horse carries them to the winning post, and everyone who has ridden in a race or has ridden a horse knows that that is absolutely not true. So I quite like that, that use of the word athlete, and I think the schools should probably use it a little bit more, and maybe even get away from that, you know, that sort of definition that we have of a jockey, because they are true athletes and they need to be recognized as such. But that's a different subject. Do we have any other questions? Yes, they're in the back, and then we come to you.
Hi, my name is Nicola Naylor.
Can you speak close? Yes.
My name is Nicola Naylor. I'm a breeder from the UK. I'm heavily involved with the Pony Club because I have an 8-year-old son of my own. We have been to numerous Pony Club racing events this year, and they start at 9 years old in the UK on 12.2s, and they go up then 13.2, 14.2, and sort of about 85% girls. The girls then seem to get lost in translation. They go through Pony Club, you've got all that experience. They then go on to the racing school, you've still got all that experience. They've been training since they were tiny children, some of them, and then they don't seem to be retained in the industry. Is there any measures put in place across the world to see these girls, you know, maintain their potential and fulfill everything that they have to offer, rather than some boy come in at 17 or 18, walk into a racing school and just go, hi, I'm here, my name's Joe, and I'm going to win every race going, because they're given better opportunities, and they are.
Well, lots of girls agree with that. I don't really quite know where to start. I know that you, Dawn, mentioned early on, you said that the girls drop out and that they don't go to the licensing stage. Maybe you can offer some explanation or
Yes. As I mentioned before, they go through a 12-week program at the racing school, and then they go out into the industry. And it's dependent upon trainers sending them back on licensing courses for them to get those opportunities. And as I say, at the moment, I think there's still a great deal of prejudice within the training community against girls. And so that's what we have to change, is the attitudes. You mentioned having female trainers and so on, and there are a growing number of women trainers in Britain, and hopefully that will change things for the better from a girl's perspective.
Can we have the mic?
Yes, I think that in the U.S., we had an amazing event at Keeneland this past fall where they brought together all the pioneer women riders in the U.S., including the first woman to ride in a recognized race in 1969. And if you think about the progression we made in the U.S. from 1969, where the Racing Commission wouldn't license a woman jockey, and the other jockeys would boycott the race to not allow a woman to ride, to today, where you see the Julie Crones and the Rosita and Provniks of the world were riding, and not just riding, but winning. I think that this is not just a trend or a fad. I think if you put a boy or a girl on a horse, if they can win, that's it. That's the bottom line. That's what makes racing so unique, is that it's not whether you're a boy or a girl, it's whether you win that race. And I rode in the mornings against Julie Crone, who said, I ride like a girl to me. So I know how good she was when she was riding, and how, Rosie, for example, as an example. We're much more open in the U.S. for that opportunity, but I think it's critical that, we apply the training and the techniques across both sexes, because that's the future of our sport.
I think you probably find also that it is a common phenomenon, not just in racing, but a lot of girls start riding in show jumping and dressage, and then there's just the natural time where women like to have a family, which plays into it, and where they drop out. So I think it's probably a bit of a combination of both, that you have maybe some prejudice, that boys are easily accepted, And at the same time, that also a number of girls just find it too hard. I certainly have to say that when I started riding, it was great because someone prepared my pony for me, and when I got older, they no longer did, and then I thought, no, that's not a good idea. It's too hard work. So that happens as well. But I think we had another lady who wanted to ask a question there. If we could get a microphone down here. Do you want to raise your hand again? Can we get a microphone down there?
Hi, my name is Teresa Seeley, and I'm an instructor coordinator with the Exercise Rider and Jockey program in Alberta, Canada. And something that we always run into as a challenge is the mental preparedness that these students need from day one, getting on their first horse, going to the racetrack, being part of the industry, and actually riding the actual race. So I am interested to find out what the other jockey schools are doing to get these students mentally prepared. I know in our program, fear factor is a big deal. That's something that's a stopper for many of them. We also have 90%, I'd almost like to say 100% of our students are women. And how do we prepare these women to go into the industry prepared mentally and to try to overcome that fear factor?
Yes, very interesting question, and I think I'm going to first put it to Kai in Germany, because 90% you said of your apprentices are girls. How do you prepare? Do you, in that week that you have with them, can you prepare them for the fear? How do you deal with the mental aspect?
For me, I think it is not different. It's a girl or a woman. A girl or a man, sorry. Women riders sometimes riding more better than men because they're more sensitive, and the German trainers have no problems because of the man or woman. So for that, I think it's, yeah.
So mentally, no problem. How is it for you, Remy, in the United States? What do you do? How do you?
Well, we'll start off, we have about 18 off-the-track thoroughbreds that we use in our program, like the other schools, but the advantage there is that we can attach the student to the horse and build up the challenges as they go up before we put them in a racing situation. But at the same time, I'm a big believer in, while you're doing the fitness preparation, you work on, like I said, between the ears. What is it that's going to make you scared about riding that horse? Is it because he ran off with you yesterday? And how do you control your emotions when you're going to ride the same horse again? Are you going to make the same mistake, or are you going to learn from that? And those are the critical things, like any athlete, the unknown, the fear of the unknown. You get on a horse that you don't know anything about, and something goes bad tomorrow, you're going to be thinking about it. How do you address that? And so a lot of it has to do with coaching that student on how to control their emotions. Chris and I will tell them, listen, we've been riding for a while. You get you get apprehensive, but you can control that. And it's like any sport. A soccer player afraid of taking a penalty kick. How do you do that?
Well, I have to say, I would beg to differ on that. I don't think it's like any sport. I think jockeys are far more exposed to dangers than any other athletes, apart maybe from Formula One racing drivers. And actually, I'm going to put the question to Melissa, because very sadly, in the last couple of weeks, we have lost two very young, talented girls in Australia who were killed in riding accidents, which were none of their faults. The horses broke down, but how do you deal with it in a school? Because if I'm an apprentice and I'm about to go out into a race, and in 1 week we lose two talented girls, and there was one very talented young man in the United States that also was killed that very same week. What do you tell your students? What do you do?
We actually employ a sports psychologist, so we're really lucky at Racing Victoria. We have a really strong jockey association that have been really strong in supporting our jockeys and putting really good things in place, and we have a relationship with the same sports psychologist. So our sports psychologist does the initial screening with potential candidates as well, and comes into training every month and meets with our athletes individually, because they may have performance issues or problems they need to manage, or it may be something on that scale as well. So Lisa meets with them. She's actually comes from an international show jumping background herself, so she understands riding and falling off and mentally what's required to get back on. So she supports not only apprentices and senior riders in Victoria, but also she's on call around Australia. So when we've had that recent situation, the timing of it was that we had apprentices in at training, and we had a sports psychologist actually come in to specifically debrief with them as a whole group, and then to meet with them individually, and Lisa's available 24/7. Racing Victoria, I think, is fantastic in that we're able to access experts in many fields to provide the best possible training to our jockeys and our athletes. So we can't do everything for them ourselves, so we're able to access good nutritionists and sports psychologists and things like that. So we work really closely. I know Matt could be driving home from the races, and he'll give Lisa a call and talk to her about the apprentices. And for example, we've got an apprentice at the moment that's been riding a bit too close to heels, and that has the potential to be a big problem. And we've realised that he doesn't have really good reaction time. So we've been talking about taking that rider out and doing some go-karting with him and developing his skills, and doing online training to develop his reaction skills and things like that. So all of our apprentices, whether they're male or female, are treated very individually from when they come in from day one, because they all have quite unique needs.
How is it for you, Chris, in Turkey? Are you able to employ a psychologist? Or?
We are. We have a psychologist there during the day, and then when the students they live in at night, so there's another psychologist comes in on most nights of the week. The psychologist during the day works closely with our riding instructors. So if there's any problems with the students, lack of confidence, that boy's not himself today, they refer to the psychologist. So the psychologist is working fairly closely with our riding instructors to make sure that there's any issues are addressed.
What's it like in England?
At the Northern Racing College, we've worked with, again, a sports psychologist, but to develop our programme from the start. So looking at our stable staff programme, about a third of the young people we take have never touched a horse before in their lives, and we're putting them straight onto ex-race horses. But we do a lot of work around things like visualization, goal setting and that kind of thing, to help them through that initial period of why would I want to sit on this animal over which I feel I have very little control. And then that's built up and it becomes more sophisticated as they go into their careers as jockeys.
Right, I think that was, might have answered your question. Do we have any more questions coming from? Yes? Well, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. In order, you've got the microphone. Please go ahead.
Well, I'm Laura Carson. I'm actually a rider from the US of A. I'm here with Remy and Chris McCarran.
Can you put it?
On behalf of the riders that are here, I would like to express my gratitude for past, present, and future riders that are going to go through these schools, that they exist, because without that, we would have to go through the School of Hard Knocks. And no offense, this is a fantastic program. But I would also like to add on your advertising, you guys produce a product into your industry. And your product is a perfect advertising thing in itself. If we can go out there and be successful riders, what's a better advertising than that? My only comment.
Well, we thank you for your comment. We appreciate comments, and I think it's very true. We do have a great product. Right. Yes. Can we have a mic for Lara, please? Can we have a mic here? I have seen you. Just 1 second, Lara. One question from Lara.
For all the 6 schools, do you really interact with other schools? This is very important. When we talk education, we talk training, I think there's a very big gap of communication between the schools. I need comments from every school.
Right? She wants comments from every school, so.
I think that opportunities like this are absolutely critical in that process. As you say, the communication between the schools. We don't get enough of those opportunities because obviously it's expensive to do that and people take time out to do that. But I'd just say that this has been the most fantastic opportunity for us. So thank you very much.
Right. Kai?
Thank you very much for inviting us here, Lara. This is very important, and it is very good. She's laughing about me. It's very important to work together with other schools to have races international and like that, because the students will have
benefit.
Yeah.
Right. Remy?
Again, thank you. And yes, you're exactly right. One of the challenges we have is that we get together at meetings and then we go back and we have classes and things like that. So we have to continue the momentum from meetings like this. And one of the things we talked about last year, we're now having an agreement with the Jockey Club in the US where they're going to share their server on their computer so we can build a website and share curricula and online classes and things like that. But we need to take it to the next step and create an international federation of racing schools, but where we can online, if I have a good class at our school that I can share with Don or with Keith or whoever, we can put it online, and you can take classes online now. We offer 5 online classes in equine studies for our students. I think that's the future. I think that's where we can all work together and participate with each other.
Do you think online is the solution?
Maybe not for the training of a jockey, no.
You cannot train a jockey online.
No, but I think that a
You will
good
have
jockey...
more accidents on the racetrack.
I think that a good jockey, though, needs to study anatomy, physiology of the horse so that they're a better horseman. And I think that's where you can do good classes. Obviously, they need to be on a horse at one of the schools, but there's a lot of other classes, I think, that can make them a better jockey and a better person, supplement what they're doing.
Thank you. And please, Christopher.
Thank you. I've worked in this industry many years, and I would attend international conferences where education and training would tend to take a back seat at the end of the conference in some little workshop that only half of the people would attend. And this is the first time, Lara, that we've brought everyone together, everyone to network, everyone to share their ideas. And it's just so important to do this. Last year we asked Gay Gauchi from Australia to develop an international passport to recognise the qualifications around the globe, and I know she's done some important work on that. And just from the conversations that have gone on today, we're doing things almost the same. There's very many similarities in what we're doing. No one's completely different to the other, and this is the time to bring all that together. And this is the opportunity to bring it all together.
Victoria, Melissa?
I think for Racing Victoria and for racing in Australia, we've had a good relationship with Asian racing countries and South Africa because we've held race invitational apprentice series. But last year, for the first time, we got invited to the Longines Future Stars race in Shanti, and that was the start of the relationship, which has led us to being a part of the Apprentice Championships this year. And coming along last year has been really fantastic for us. And on Friday, Dawn will be coming to Racing Victoria to spend an afternoon having a look at our program. So yeah, we've had a good relationship with the Asian countries, but I think it's been great for us to come along and join the European and Middle East countries as well, and have this opportunity to network that we definitely don't have otherwise.
Thank you. And Kim Soon?
Interaction between the schools, very, very important. Yesterday I met Chris and me and talking about the interchange the jockeys between the schools. So as long as we don't have any language barrier, then we do teach the English in our class. And someone who speak foreign language very good, then we do dispatch one jockeys to the Turkish school, and Turkish school also send some very, capable jockeys to Korea, and they do training in Seoul and Turkish. That will encourage the student very good in certain level of the not just only the racing skill but also the communication and the internationalization, and everything's going good. So that's a pretty good idea to interact very strongly between the schools.
Thank you, Korea.
Well, I have to say there's someone who's desperate to ask one more question, even though we're arriving at the end of our program.
Can we be quick?
Can we? Yes, I'm really sorry that I'm going to cut you short. Can you remember your question for the workshop?
Absolutely, yes.
Great. I thank you for your understanding. It's just that we are live and we have to go off air. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think you all agree it was a very interesting panel. If I would like to thank all my panelists for their very interesting contribution.
And Liz, thank you very much for hosting it. Outstanding.
Thank
so well
you.
done.
Thank you, Derek.
Just before we go, I'd like to... Where's Sammy? That's going to be the name of a new racehorse. Where's Sammy? Come and join us. Sammy Albuerin, the chairman of IFA, is here. Sammy, you're flying backwards and forwards to Qatar virtually every day. What are your thoughts after the first session of this?
Oh, it's great. I believe it's a great session. Of course, Lara always organizes the best of the best. But the most important things we haven't speak about the safety of the jockeys, because this is very important. Because as you know, I've been in several parts of racing. As I was commentator, I was in several parts. But the worst part, I was as chief steward in Qatar racing, and I see a lot of accidents, and that's why I didn't really like, and I want people to talk about, because sometimes when you get to the competition, you want to win, but then you have to think you have to win, but this is not like a video game, then you can restart again and you can play. This is you play with somebody else's life. And I think it's the most important. We have to talk about the jockey's life and safety, and we have to win, good win, in a safety way. And I love it, of course. It's very, very good here with, of course, all the jockeys. And I would like to thank Her Highness Sheikha Fatima Bint Mubarak because of the female jockey riders. They are doing fantastic now all over the world. And then when we hear about Germany, they have like 89% of the jockeys, they are females, which is fantastic. And Lara did a fantastic job too. And really, I would like to thank the girls. They are doing very good. There is one Swedish girl, she did fantastic in America. She did a fantastic job. And I think equestrian world, there is no male or females. The best can show. We saw that in dressage, with Anki from Netherlands and the girl from Germany, and then also in show jumpers, we saw girls. They are like in global tour. There's a girl, the wife of Jan Tops. She's in the lead almost, And I think girls, they do good, and I support girls. And good luck, girls.
You can tell why he's chairman of IFA. You are a star. We're talking of great jockeys. We have got one of the greatest jockeys of all time, Chris McCarron, Hall of Fame legend, has flown in from America, and he will be live in the first afternoon session. Stay with us. Well done, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that first session. Guys, you were outstanding. Now relax. Lunch is being served next door in the restaurant. So we expect you back here at, oh, don't go yet. We expect you back here at about 1:15 at the latest. All right? We're just going to get photos on stage with the Emirates girls. And guys, we'll get you all ready. Mohaf is here. Thank you, guys. Relax and enjoy, and we'll see you later.
تحية مجددة لكم مشاهدينا الكرام. قبل لحظات انتهت الجلسة الأولى من مؤتمر الشيخة فاطمة بنت مبارك للتدريب والتعليم. الجلسة الأولى كانت مشاهدينا الكرام تحت عنوان تدريب الفرسان عالميا وتفادي الإصابات. طبعا مشاهدينا الكرام هذا المؤتمر الذي سوف ينقل على الهواء مباشرة على مدار اليومين، اليوم وغدا إن شاء الله. مشاهدينا الكرام اليوم هو اليوم الأول، وهذا الاستوديو الخاص بمؤتمر الشيخة فاطمة بنت مبارك للتدريب والتعليم. يسعدني مشاهدينا الكرام أن أرحب بضيفي الكريم في الاستوديو الأستاذ أحمد الحمادي، عضو المكتب التنفيذي للاتحاد الدولي لسباقات الخيول العربية الأصيلة إيفار، وأيضا مدير الفروسية في منتجع الفرسان بأبو ظبي. أستاذي العزيز أهلا وسهلا بك بهذا الاستوديو الخاص.
يعطيك العافية.
أستاذ أحمد، طبعا أنت حضرت الجلسة الأولى اللي كانت بعنوان تدريب الفرسان عالميا وتفادي الإصابات. طبعا هذه الجلسة تحت مظلة المؤتمر سمو الشيخة فاطمة بنت مبارك للتدريب والتعليم. طبعا ما شاء الله تبارك الرحمن دائما ما تجول معنا في كل المحافل الخاصة بمهرجان سمو الشيخ منصور بن زايد آل نهيان، سواء سباقات السرعة أو الاندورنس وأيضا المؤتمرات. كيف شاهدت الجلسة الأولى؟ أبرز المحاور لفتت انتباهك وأهم ما يهم الفرسان المتدربين؟
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. مشكور اخوي مسعود، مشكور لقناه ابو ظبي الرياضيه على تواجدها ودعمها للسباقات هذه والمؤتمرات اللي هم اللي يبرزون دورنا واللي قاعد نسويه في المجال هاي، سواء كان التعليمي او التدريبي. طبعا كل الشكر لسمو الشيخه فاطمه على دعمها ورعايتها لهذا المؤتمر. اللي أعطت بعد ثاني اللي كان العالم غايب عنه، وهو دعم المرأة في كل المجالات من ضمنها مجال الفروسية. والشكر الكبير الموصول لصاحب السمو الشيخ منصور بن زايد على دعمه. وطبعا مؤتمر الشيخة فاطمة بنت مبارك للتدريب والتعليم نقدر نقول الأول من نوعه، يعطي زخم لهذا الجانب ويبدأ يطلع المعوقات ويبدأ يحاول يبرز الحلول، بحيث أنه وبتواجد الجميع اللي موجودين مختلف دول العالم، أعتقد 56
صحيح
دولة.
56 دولة نعم.
ما شاء الله كل سنة في ازدياد، فالأرقام ما نقدر صعب أن
نعم تتذكرها.
تطور
نعم.
طبعا تطور هذا الدعم الكبير اللي نشهده. 56 دولة، تبادل الآراء، هذه المواضيع هي اللي نقدر نطور فيها الرياضة. عندك بالنسبة لليوم كان بالنسبة للتدريب والإديوكيشنال والتعليم عامة كان سيشن طيب، مختلف دول العالم، سواء المدارس المختلفة سواء كانت أوروبية وأمريكية، وكان في عندنا من آسيا، الكوريين موجودين، الأستراليين موجودين. فالنقاش كان حتى شفت في نهاية السيشن كان في أسئلة ما قدرنا نكمل لأن السيشن كان تقريبا خلص. النقاش كان طيب، يعطي الأبعاد الثانية للفروسية، وكان في تركيز طبعا على المرأة، كيف ان المرأة تقدر تنافس. احب اقول لك الفروسية هي الرياضة الوحيدة اللي ينافس فيها الرجال والنساء صحيح. في نفس المضمار، فبالتالي المساواة موجودة. هنا الدور كان النقاش على اساس ان كيف يتم تجهيزهم من النواحي التدريبية في بعض المحاور الاولى. اعتمد على اكثر الاجوبة طبعا على انهم في البداية الرغبة تكون موجودة، بعدين يبدون يدخلون كورسات تدريبية. كل جهة تعليمية في بعض دول العالم بعض منهم عندهم كورسات لفترات زمنية متفاوتة. في أمريكا لاحظنا أن عندهم برنامج اللي هو برنامج تعليمي أكاديمي أكثر، يمتد للسنوات، جامعي، ومن خلاله يأخذون كورسات تدريبية. بالإضافة لذلك كانت بعض الأسئلة في محاور اللي هي تجهيزهم نفسيا. التجهيز النفسي ضروري
صحيح.
من جانب، تعرف أخوي مسعود دائما المرأة سواء كانت عربية أو غربية في النهاية عواملها النفسية تختلف صحيح. بحيث أنها تهيأ للسباق طبعا. وبعدين فترة زمنية تبي تكون أسرة
صحيح،
فبالتالي في اختلافات. فكيف
ما مدى اختلاف الهرمونات الجسمية بالنسبة للمرأة؟
طبعا
نعم.
من ناحية جسمانية في فارسات على مستوى العالم وبرزوا وحصلوا نتائج طيبة، بس انها تكمل هنا يرجع لدور المدرب، كيف تجهيزها نفسيا، كيف ان نقدر نحط لها التارجت والهدف كيف توصل، كيف انها نجهزها ونبين لها ان النتائج كيف بتكون خلال تحفيزها خلال مسيرتها، والدور الباقي هي يعني في النهاية الرغبة صحيح. تكون موجودة من الشخص نفسه.
نعم. تحدثنا كان معنا بات باكلي أيضا، يعني قال تحدثنا عن جامعة ليفربول والحمية الغذائية بالنسبة لبعض الفرسان. نعم. كيف أنه يحافظ على نفسه. قال في الآخر مسعود لازم الفارس بعد يكون شرطي نفسه، يعني هو طبعا. يحاول قدر المستطاع أنه هو يعي أهمية هذا الموضوع طبعا. هو داخليا ما يعتمد فقط على الجامعة والأنظمة، وهو يكون مقياس نفسه، هو يكون ترمومتر لنفسه.
نجيبها بشكل أسهل.
تفضل
مسعود. الإنسان العادي الغير رياضي إذا في النهاية هو نفس الشرطي نفسه صحيح. يعني مهما يروح للدكتور، مهما يصار للدكتور أعطاه نصايح، في النهاية إذا هو ما تابع ما نفذ النصايح هذه، في النهاية هو اللي بيخسر صحيح. فما بالك في الجانب الرياضي اللي لازم يكون عطائه أكثر في مجالات صحيح. رياضية معينة صحيح. لازم هو يراقب نفسه من الناحية يعني البدنية، الصحية، التدريبية، السلوكية.
نعم.
السلوكية مهمة جدا، الانضباط مهم
صحيح.
جدا
صحيح.
الفروسية من أساس مكوناتها السلوك قبل شغلات الحمية والمواضيع هذه. الانضباط يعني اللي موجود في التدريب، ومن ناحية الأكل، من ناحية توزيع التدريبات، توزيع اليوم، جدا الانضباط مهم. يعني احنا
وفي الاخر نتعامل مع كائن حي طبعا، انت ابخص شيء.
هذا الحين ما جينا له، هذا موضوع ثاني
صحيح.
يعني تعرف الفروسيه هي ثقافه قبل ما تكون تدريب فقط، اخلاق قبل ما تكون تدريب فقط. فاحنا لازم ننقل ثقافه الفروسيه اول شيء، آداب الفروسية اللي هي تصقل شخصية اللي تم تكريمها وتوصية من عندنا يعني في الدين الإسلامي، في القرآن صحيح. وفي أحاديث الرسول عليه الصلاة والسلام. فبالتالي هي يعني ثقافة وأخلاق، إذا وصلت معناه صار انضباط، معناه بعدين التدريب بيكون في انضباط وبيكون متابعة للتدريب. والجانب الثاني تفضلت فيه، احنا نتعامل مع كائن حي وكائن يعني يحتاج ان احنا نتعامل معاه روح بطريقة معينة، وكل كل خيل له شخصية
ما شاء الله
معينة.
عليك. نعم صحيح.
بحيث انك انت تقدر تتعامل، مو ان هذا الخيل انا اليوم دربته وبمشي نفس الستايل معه، لا، لازم انت تكون مرن صبور متعدد المواهب.
صحيح.
رجعنا شوي للاخلاق مره ثانيه.
نعم.
رجعنا
نعم.
للشخصيه
صحيح.
مره
ما
ثانيه.
شاء الله عليك. طبعا انت الان تجرني للسؤال، يعني تتحدث عن أهمية تثقيف الفرسان، ولله الحمد هذه المؤتمرات بدأنا نجني ثمارها. أكبر دليل طبعا أنت حضرت معنا في أكثر من سباقات القدرة،
نعم.
خصوصا حول العالم.
نعم.
يعني سيدات الإمارات حققوا نصر كبير على
طبعا.
المستوى الفردي في فيرونا، وأيضا على مستوى المنتخب.
طبعا.
إذا بدينا نجني ثمار هذه
طبعا.
المؤتمرات.
طبعا. هذا شوف، يعني احنا الحمد لله رب العالمين في الإمارات نعتبر في يعني أنا تقريبا 24 سنة 25 سنة الفروسية، ومن ضمنها 10 15 سنة في مختلف الرياضات في التنظيم والمواضيع هذه.
صحيح.
احنا نعتبر من خلال إشادة سواء الفيفا في كرة القدم أو الاتحاد الدولي الاف اي اي، يعني احنا في منتجع الفرسان نظمنا مرتين نهائي
نعم.
بطولة العالم لقفز الحواجز، وبالإضافة لكأس دبي العالمي، بالإضافة مهرجان الشيخ منصور، بالإضافة كل هذه الشغل احنا نعتبر الأفضل في التنظيم.
نعم.
فما بالك الخطة مرسومة لفارساتنا، الخطة مرسومة وماشيين الحمد لله على الطريق الصحيح. بس بعدني ارجع اقول الدور الباقي عليهم. بتجي لحظه يا جماعه الدوله ما قصرت. مهرجان الشيخ منصور،
نعم.
الشيخه فاطمه الله يطول يعطيها الصحه والعافيه ويطول بعمرها، هالدعم المحدودة. فبالتالي الدور الباقي الحين علينا احنا كيف نحن
الارضيه
نكمل.
اكثر من رائعه للعمل.
طبعا
يعني.
طبعا وما في حدود. هاي فروسيه. وشوف يعني مهما الانسان يتعلم بعده لازم هو يسوي الهوم ورك ماله، بعد يقوم بواجباته، يشتغل على اساس انه يقدر يطور نفسه.
صحيح.
عشان غير يطور نفسه، احنا دائما هدفنا التميز. احنا بعدنا قاعدين مثل ما تفضلت انت، يعني احنا مشوا على المسار الصحيح، لا احنا هدفنا التميز.
صحيح.
التميز مهما الدوله ما بتقصر. فبالتالي التميز الانسان نفسه لازم يسعى، لازم يكون جزء من مبادئه عشان
صحيح.
يسعى للتميز، والتميز طريق هو للابداع.
صحيح.
واحنا هذه المرحله نبغيها، نبغي الابداع، نبغي اسم الامارات يكون في الافضل ودائما تكون اولى ان شاء الله.
يا استاذ احمد حديثك جدا جدا شيق، ولو قعدنا نسولف وياك بنسولف لساعات وساعات، لان الان يعني قربنا على انتهاء من هذا الاستديو الخاص قبل الجلسه الثانيه. استاذ احمد انا اشكرك جزيل الشكر، وان شاء الله استديوهات قادمه والحديث ان شاء الله قادم.
ان شاء الله فرصتين.
شكرا لك. شكرا. مشاهدينا الكرام كان معي الاستاذ احمد الحمادي عضو المكتب التنفيذي للاتحاد الدولي لسباقات الخيول العربيه الاصيله اظهار، وايضا مدير الفروسيه في منتجع فرسان بابو ظبي. مشاهدينا الكرام طبعا الان سوف ننتقل الى فاصل، وسوف نعود معكم على الهواء مباشره قبيل انطلاق الجلسة الثانية من مؤتمر الشيخة فاطمة بنت مبارك للتدريب والتعليم. الجلسة الثانية تحت عنوان الوصول بالفرسان لأعلى المستويات. لذلك الحين مشاهدينا الكرام تقبلوا تحياتي وإلى اللقاء.